Welcome to Legacy Coins USA, where history meets hidden wealth. Today, we're diving into legendary American coins that once passed quietly through everyday hands, yet now carry stories powerful enough to rival luxury cars, rare art, and elite collectibles. From Lincoln pennies born during wartime America to Washington quarters struck by the hundreds of millions, these coins carry liberty, Indiana God we trust, and e pluribus unum, not just words, but symbols of a nation and opportunities collectors dream about. Some are common, some are rare, and a very few have sold for prices that could put you behind the wheel of a luxury car. In this channel, we uncover real history, real values, real collector secrets, and the truth behind which coins are ordinary and which could change everything. If you love money, history, rare finds, and high-value treasures, you're in the right place. Subscribe, stay sharp, and let's unlock the legacy one coin at a time. The first up. The 1991 Washington Quarter Series continues the classic Washington design that first appeared in 1932 for George Washington's bicentenary. The obverse bears the profile of George Washington facing left, with the word Liberty arching over his head, and the national motto "In God We Trust" beside his chin. The date 1991 appears below, and the tiny mint mark D, for Denver, sits to the right of Washington's ponytail. This mint mark is important because it tells collectors where the coin was struck and influences its rarity and value. On the reverse, tail side, of the 1991 quarter is the traditional heraldic eagle, designed by John Flanagan, showing the eagle with wings outspread, clutching arrows and an olive branch. Above the eagle floats the motto "E pluribus unum," meaning out of many, one, with United States of America encircling the top and quarter dollar across the bottom. This imagery reflects America's strength, unity, and peaceful intent. The composition of the 1991 D quarter is a copper-nickel clad, meaning it has outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, a standard composition for post-1965 quarters, not containing any silver or precious metals. The coin's diameter is 24.3 mm and it weighs about 5.67 grams with a reeded edge, tiny ridges around the rim, that help deter counterfeiting and assist in tactile identification. In 1991, the United States Mint struck coins at three facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, the D you asked about, with 630, 966, 693 produced; and San Francisco, proof coins with S mark, 2, 867, 787 struck. The Denver output is actually the largest number of any single die variety for that year, making the 1991 D one of the most common modern quarters ever released into U.S. circulation. Because of this huge mintage, the vast majority of 1991 D quarters today are common in circulation and worth only their face value of 25 cents unless they are in special condition. Most people find them in pocket change, jarred up from everyday use. Typical circulated examples are nearly worthless beyond face value. However, condition matters greatly for collectors. If a 1991 D quarter has never been spent exhibiting full luster, sharp strikes, and minimal contact marks, it might be graded as MS65 to MS67, mint state, by professional grading services, PCGS/NGC. High-grade pieces in MS67, especially with flawless surfaces, are much rarer than the overall mintage number would imply and have sold at auction for hundreds or possibly over $1,000. The proof strikes from San Francisco are struck with polished planchets and dies to create mirror-like fields and frosted devices. These are intended for collectors, not circulation, and carry value premiums over face value when in high-proof grades, PR67, PR69, or PR70, because of their aesthetic appeal and limited production. Despite popular myths, there is no 1991 D quarter containing any precious metal like silver or gold. The clad composition means its intrinsic metal value is barely above face value, and it cannot be melted for significant bullion profit. There are replica or novelty pieces that appear gold or silver, but these are not authentic U.S. Mint products and are valued only as oddities. Collectors sometimes search for rarer varieties of the 1991 D, such as off-center strikes, doubled dies, or planchet anomalies, which can be individually valuable, sometimes fetching more than standard strikes depending on severity and appeal. These errors occur when something goes wrong in the minting process and are prized for their uniqueness. A critical point: although over 630 million 1991 D quarters were struck, millions have been lost to wear, melting, rare, or disposal, but still hundreds of millions remain. So even though millions exist, condition is what determines collector interest, not mere existence. In the broader context of U.S. coinage history, the Washington quarter design remained largely unchanged from 1932 until the state quarters program began in 1999. The 1991D is part of this classic series that bridges decades of American everyday coinage. For numbers collectors, those building date/mint mark sets, 1991D is a staple piece. For value collectors, those seeking profit or rarity, the most sought after are the very highest grade or error examples. Most 1991D quarters, however, do not bring the kind of money that could buy a luxury car or a large investment on platforms like eBay, unless one has multiple high-grade certified rare specimens. Typical market values for an average circulated 1991D quarter remain around 25 cents to about $2 for modest uncirculated grades. Extremely high certified grades, MS67+, have been known to sell from the low hundreds into the low thousands in auctions, but these are the exceptional few, not the millions of ordinary coins. So to answer your "how many million coins" question, the Denver Mint alone struck 630, 966, 693 quarters in 1991, plus the Philadelphia and San Francisco outputs, meaning well over 1.2 billion total Washington quarters, all mint marks, were made that year. In summary, the 1991D Washington quarter with Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, E Pluribus Unum, United States of America, quarter dollar inscriptions is historically a common but classic modern U.S. coin with collectible interest mainly in high grades or error forms, not precious metal content or luxury level market prices for most specimens. Next up. The 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny, denomination 1 cent, is part of the long-running Lincoln Cents series that began in 1909 as the first U.S. coin to feature a U.S. President Abraham Lincoln, facing right on the obverse. The coin's obverse design includes the motto, "In God We Trust" above Lincoln's portrait, the word liberty to the left, and the date 1944 to the right. These inscriptions reflect both patriotic sentiment and the monetary denomination. On the reverse, the coin carries the classic wheat ears design, two stylized wheat stalks flanking the center, with the inscriptions 1 cent, United States of America, and the Latin motto E Pluribus Unum above the denomination, a phrase meaning out of many, one, symbolizing the unity of the states. This dual motto format was standard on Lincoln Wheat Cents until the design changed in 1959. The designer Victor David Brenner created both sides, his initials VDB originally controversial on early issues and later placed subtly on Lincoln's shoulder. This historic design endured for decades and became deeply popular with collectors due to its artistry and connection to Lincoln's legacy. In 1944, the United States was emerging from the height of World War II. Before 1944, the U.S. Mint had altered penny composition to steel in 1943 to preserve copper for war materials, but by 1944 the Mint returned to a bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc for Lincoln cents. The return to bronze made the 1944 pennies familiar in color and feel to earlier issues. The 1944 Lincoln cent was produced in 3 U.S. Mint facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark, the largest share, Denver, with D mint mark, and San Francisco, with S mint mark. The major mintage figures were about 1,435,400,000 at Philadelphia, 430,578,000 at Denver, and 282,760,000 at San Francisco, for a combined total of over 2.1 billion coins struck that year, one of the highest annual mintages in the Lincoln Cents series. Common 1944 wheat pennies are thus extremely abundant, and ordinary circulated examples are typically worth only a few cents over face value to modestly uncirculated pieces. Most collectors find these coins useful for completing date/mint mark sets, not as high-value investments. Collectors do seek higher grading specimens, however, uncirculated MS, mint state, pieces with original luster and minimal contact marks can bring higher prices, especially in brilliant red RD, red, color designations or certified high grades, often ranging from a few dollars to several dozen dollars depending on condition and market demand. Beyond normal strikes, varieties and error coins dramatically affect collector interest. One notable variant is the 1944D/S overpunched mint mark, where a San Francisco S mint mark was overpunched with a Denver D on the die. These overpunched varieties are more scarce and can command significant premiums relative to standard issues. The rarest and most valuable subtype associated with 1944 is the 1944 steel wheat penny, an off-metal error struck on leftover zinc-coated steel planchets from 1943. Only a couple of dozen authentic examples across all mints are known. Estimates suggest about 30 steel 1944 pennies exist, and they are worth tens of thousands to potentially well over $100,000 plus depending on grade and market conditions, since such errors are extremely rare. Normal copper 1944 pennies, even in high uncirculated grades, rarely fetch high premiums because of the huge original mintage and widespread survival. Prices for common uncirculated pieces may be modest, from a few dollars for MS60/MS62 to tens of dollars or a few $100s at upper MS65 or MS66 grades, but most examples in everyday collections are not high-value coins. Factors collectors evaluate include strike quality, surface preservation, color, red versus brown, luster, toning, and whether any die errors or overdates exist. True error coins like the steel cents or unusual die varieties are the ones that bring major collector attention. In terms of weight and physical characteristics, a standard 1944 Lincoln cent weighs about 3.11 grams and measures 19.00 millimeters in diameter with a plain, smooth edge, consistent with traditional U.S. pennies of the era. The historical context during which these pennies were made adds to their appeal. World War II wartime production changes, material shortages, and the return to copper-bronze composition reflect broader U.S. economic and industrial history. Collectors value that narrative as part of the coin story. If you find an ordinary 1944 penny and change today, its market value is modest, often only a few cents to a few dollars depending on condition. Many listing guides show typical circulated examples valued in small increments above face, with uncirculated pieces reaching higher but not astronomical values. Only a tiny handful of 1944 steel pennies or dramatic error pieces have sold for very high sums, in some rare cases brokered in specialized auctions well into the five-figure range or more, but these are extraordinary exceptions rather than the norm. So while more than 2 billion, millions times millions, of 1944 Lincoln cents exist, only a tiny fraction are rare enough to approach values that might be compared to the price of a luxury car. For most collectors and investors, the coin's historical value and place in series sets are far greater than its everyday investment value. Luxury purchases based on ordinary 1944 pennies would not be realistic unless one had a rare error or very high-grade certified specimen. Next up, the 1988 Washington Quarter continues the long-running Washington Quarter series that began in 1932 to honor the bicentennial of George Washington's birth, and by 1988 had become everyday U.S. currency, bearing the familiar obverse portrait of George Washington facing left with the inscriptions Liberty above his head and In God We Trust to the left. The date 1988 and the P Mint mark for the Philadelphia Mint appear below and to the right of Washington's neck hair. These letters tell collectors where the coin was struck. On the reverse, tails, side sits the classic heraldic eagle with wings spread, perched on a bundle of arrows and flanked by olive branches, encircled by United States of America at top, $quarter at bottom, and the national motto E pluribus unum above the eagle's head, the Latin phrase meaning out of many, one, symbolizing unity. Physically, the 1988 P quarter measures approximately 24.3 millimeters in diameter, weighs about 5.67 grams, and has a reeded edge, tiny grooves around the rim that help deter counterfeiting and give a tactile feel. It is struck in copper nickel clad, specifically 91.67% copper with 8.33% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, which is the standard composition for U.S. quarters since 1965 when the silver content was eliminated due to rising metal costs. The original planchets, blank coin discs, are not precious metals, so the coin's intrinsic metal value is essentially its face value. In 1988, the Philadelphia Mint produced an enormous number of these coins, approximately 562,052,000 pieces with the P Mint mark were struck for general circulation, making this issue very common among modern quarters. Additional Washington quarters were struck at Denver, the D Mint mark, and San Francisco, the S Mint mark proof coins, but the P variety remains one of the busiest Philadelphia issues of the decade. Because of this huge mintage, most circulated 1988 P quarters are worth only their face value of 25 cents. They are everywhere in pocket change and jarred coin collections. Collectors pay close attention to condition and grade when valuing modern quarters. In average circulated condition, this coin rarely brings more than its face value, but uncirculated specimens, those never used in commerce, with strong original luster can be worth modest premiums, often $1 to $2 or more depending on eye appeal and strike quality. In higher professional grades, especially certified by grading services such as NGC or PCGS, the values can jump significantly. MS65, Mint State 65, examples might fetch tens of dollars, while very high-grade MS67 or above pieces have been recorded selling for several $100s at auction, with top market records in the mid-hundreds for certain certified coins. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint, S-Mint mark, are struck with special dies and polished planchets for collectors and feature a mirror-like finish. While they are relatively rare compared to circulation strikes, the 1988 proof quarters are generally only modestly more valuable in most grades because they were widely distributed in proof sets. High-grade proof examples with strong contrast can still bring a small premium over face value. Despite being common in terms of numbers, rarity in numismatics is defined by survival and condition, so collectors seek out quarters with exceptional eye appeal, strong details, sharp strikes, and minimal contact marks. Coins graded MS67 or above are relatively rare survivors from such a huge original mintage and thus command the most interest. Even so, the presence of a high grade does not typically push this coin's market value into the realm of extremely high premiums like classic rarities from the 19th or early 20th centuries, which are the ones that can sell for tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. One of the reasons many collectors enjoy the Washington Quarter series, including the 1988 is its long continuous history and deep connection to U.S. presidential numismatics. The design by John Flanagan has remained iconic for decades because it honors the first president of the United States and represents continuity in American coinage, surviving minor artistic tweaks but remaining essentially the same for generations. The inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, United States of America, and E Pluribus Unum reflect foundational national mottos tied to liberty, faith, unity, and identity, phrases required by law and tradition on U.S. coins of this era. Modern quarter collectors, sometimes called typeset collectors or dateset collectors, include the 1988 quarter in their collections simply to complete the set of dates and mint marks, as all mint marks and years provide nuance and completeness to a lifelong collection. Within this community, the condition spectrum from worn circulation pieces to pristine uncirculated and certified mint state examples offers a range of collectible interest. Tiny variations in strike depth, die polish, and rim quality can make certain examples more desirable. Error varieties, accidental anomalies during striking such as off-center strikes, double strikes, clipped planchets, or missing mint marks, are always exciting for coin collectors because they are unique and rare relative to the massive population of regular strikes. These error coins, if authentic and dramatic, can fetch higher values because they appeal to specialty markets beyond date and mint mark collectors. However, authentic, significant mint errors on 1988 quarters remain uncommon, and most ordinary errors don't push the coin's market value into the level where it could be compared to a luxury car purchase. In terms of numbers, the Philadelphia Mint produced about 562 million 1988 quarters, meaning this coin exists in the hundreds of millions, far more coins than any reasonable collector demand, which keeps most values modest. Even when including the Denver and San Francisco mintages, total 1988 Washington quarters exceed over 1 billion pieces, with the P coin representing a major chunk of that total. The survival rate in brilliant original condition is much lower, which is why certified high-grade pieces are considered more collectible, but those are still a tiny fraction of the total production. So to answer your specific curiosity, while millions of these coins exist and some in high grade can sell for hundreds of dollars in specialist auctions, it's extremely unlikely for an ordinary 1988 quarter, even in uncirculated condition, to be worth enough to buy a luxury car unless it is an extraordinarily rare error or an exceptionally preserved certified example that commands a significant premium. The true long-term value of these modern circulation coins for most people is more often found in completing collections and appreciating American numismatic history rather than as standalone investments that will appreciate to millions. Next up, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny is part of the long-running Lincoln Cents series that began in 1909, the first U.S. circulation coin to depict a U.S. president, Abraham Lincoln, honoring his legacy on his centenary year. The obverse front of the 1945 cent carries Lincoln's right-facing bust with "In God We Trust" arching above his head, Liberty to the left, and the date 1945 to the right. Below the date and sometimes under it appears the mint mark, or "Nothing if struck at Philadelphia." The reverse, tails, features the classic wheat ears design, two stylized wheat stalks flanking the denomination 1 cent and United States of America, with the Latin motto E Pluribus Unum at the top, symbolizing unity from many states. In 1945 the U.S. was at the end of World War II, and coinage reflected both continuity and change from wartime production. Unlike 1943, when pennies were struck on zinc-coated steel planchets due to copper shortages, the U.S. Mint returned to a bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc for the Lincoln cent from 1944 through 1946, giving the 1945 penny a familiar reddish-brown look and a weight of approximately 3.11 grams with a plain, smooth edge. The 1945 cent was produced in vastly differing quantities at 3 U.S. mint facilities. Philadelphia, no mint mark, made about 1,040,515,000 pieces. Denver, D, struck 266,268,000, and San Francisco, S, struck 181,770,000. Together these sum to over 1.4 billion coins minted that year, making the 1945 issue one of the most abundant dates in the wheat penny series. The enormous mintage of the 1945 cent means most of these coins remain common today. Ordinary circulated examples are easily found in change, coin folders, and old collections. A typical 1945 penny from circulation is usually worth a few cents over its face value to collectors, often appreciated more for its history than for monetary return. Despite its general abundance, condition matters greatly for collector value. Coins graded in mint state, MS, categories indicating they have never been in circulation can command significant premiums relative to their face value. For example, an MS-65 or MS-66 specimen with original red luster might fetch tens to hundreds of dollars, and exceptionally preserved coins with vivid original color graded MS-67 or higher have been known to sell for thousands of dollars or more at major auctions. Collectors also pay attention to color designation. Red, RD, coins, which retain most of their original copper luster, are generally worth more than red-brown, RB, and brown, BN, coins, a reflection of collector preferences for original eye appeal. Beyond standard strikes, the 1945 penny has error and variety interest. Some wheat pennies exhibit die cracks, doubled dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchet errors, and other mechanical anomalies that can increase their value compared to normal business strikes. Depending on severity and collector demand, certain errors may add tens to hundreds of dollars to a coin's price. Rare extreme auction results illustrate how much collector enthusiasm can push values. For example, a 1945 wheat penny in an exceptionally high grade, MS-67+, sold at a prominent auction for over $20,000, demonstrating that even high mintage modern cents can surprise the market when a specimen combines scarcity and superb condition with premium eye appeal. However, the vast majority of 1945 pennies you or I might find in everyday change are much less valuable. Common circulated examples are typically valued at around 25 cents to a few dollars unless an unusually high grade or bearing a significant error or variety. The Philadelphia no mint mark version dominates total production and survival, so many collectors focus instead on the Denver, D, and San Francisco, S, varieties, which were minted in smaller numbers. While still common, these can be slightly more sought after in high-grade condition. Collectors building complete wheat penny sets seek examples of all three mints and prefer well-preserved coins with minimal wear, nice luster, and attractive color, which adds to a coin's desirability and market value, particularly when certified by reputable graders, e.g., PCGS, NGC, with high numerical grades and color designations. The historical context, the return to standard bronze composition after wartime alloy shifts and the coin's place in the final year of World War II, gives the 1945 penny enduring significance for both history buffs and numismatists, reflecting how everyday currency intersected with major global events. In terms of benefit to a collector or investor, ordinary specimens are more often valued for completing sets and preserving history than for high financial return, although exceptional specimens and notable error coins represent the market segment where significant profits can sometimes be realized with the right buyer and condition. To answer your specific question, millions of these coins exist. The total 1945 mintage across all mints exceeds 1.4 billion individual coins, meaning they are abundant relative to many more rare dates, but only a very small fraction are in the kinds of perfect or error forms that can command premium prices in the modern collector market. In summary, the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny is a historically rich, widely collected U.S. coin valued for its classic design, wartime context, and place within the Lincoln cent series. Most examples are common and worth only modest premiums for collectors, but rare high-grade and error specimens can be significantly more valuable, even attracting serious numismatic interest far beyond their 1-cent face value. Next up, the 1951 D Lincoln wheat penny is part of the classic Lincoln wheat cent series that was minted from 1909 to 1958, a series beloved by collectors because it was the first U.S. circulating coin to depict a U.S. President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, celebrating the centennial of his birth and reflecting enduring national reverence. On the obverse of a 1951 D penny you'll see Lincoln's right-facing portrait with the patriotic motto, "In God We Trust," arching above his head, the word liberty to the left, and the date 1951 to the right. Immediately beneath the date on Denver pieces is the tiny D Mint mark signifying it was struck at the Denver Mint, a mark that influences how different collectors categorize and value this coin. On the reverse, the iconic wheat ears design, two stylized wheat stalks flanking the central inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, is crowned by the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, symbolizing the union of the American states into one nation, an enduring theme of U.S. coinage. The original designer of this beloved portrait in wheat reverse was Victor David Brenner, whose design endured for decades because of both artistic appeal and symbolic weight. The wheat penny remained essentially unchanged until it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. The 1951 D penny carries forward that long tradition, but it also reflects post-World War II American economic and industrial conditions. By 1951 the U.S. Mint had long since returned to the classic bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc after wartime changes to steel in 1943, giving these coins a warm reddish tone and a weight of approximately 3.11 grams with a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, a size and heft familiar to generations of Americans. In 1951, the Denver Mint was extremely busy, and the Denver facility alone struck 625,355,000 of these pennies for circulation, a huge figure, making the 1951 D one of the most commonly encountered wheat pennies from that year. Across all U.S. mints that year, the total 1951 penny production was well over 1.0 billion coins, with Philadelphia, no mint mark, producing about 284,576,000 and San Francisco, about 136,010,000, putting the combined total across all mint locations comfortably above 1 billion. Because of these massive mintages, the 1951 D penny is not considered rare in the strict numismatic sense. Ordinary circulated examples are common in pocket change, coin albums, and miscellaneous collections, and they are often worth only slightly more than their 1 cent face value to everyday buyers and casual collectors. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln Wheat Cents, a very popular series, focus heavily on condition, grade, and original color when determining true value. Coins that have been worn heavily through circulation, with smooth details and flat surfaces, are typically worth only a few cents to a few tens of cents, depending on eye appeal and market demand, with most Denver minted 1951 pennies in typical circulated condition valued around 5 cents to perhaps 50 cents in the hobby market. However, when a 1951 D penny survives with original mint luster, deeply struck details, and especially with a red, RD, coloration indicating it has retained most of its original copper surface, collector interest and auction prices can rise significantly. In MS, mint state, grades, such red pieces might trade for $10 to $50 or more, and top certified specimens with strong eye appeal command still higher premiums. In the world of certified numismatics, condition truly defines value. For example, a PCGS or NGC MS68 red 1951 D penny, among the very finest known, has been recorded selling for over $6,600 at auction, demonstrating that even a high mintage coin can reach significant prices when the coin is virtually flawless and highly sought after by collectors who specialize in premium wheat cents. Coin world, but these truly high-end examples are exceptionally rare survivors from the vast original production, and represent only a tiny fraction of all 1951 D pennies ever made. Most examples, especially those found in circulation or in older collections without professional grading, are marginally above or below face value. Dealers and collectors often value such coins based on grade, color, strike quality, and eye appeal, recognizing that a specimen with well-defined features and bright surfaces is more desirable than one that is flattened and dull from wear. Color designations RD, red, RB, red-brown, and BN, brown, are also critical. Fully red coins are typically worth more than brown-toned ones of otherwise equal grade because they retain more of the original copper sheen that many collectors prize. Beyond typical examples, there are varieties and errors that can further influence collector interest. Coins with repunched mint marks, RPMs, slight die doubling on letters or numerals, or other unusual striking features may attract specialized collectors who pay premiums for identifiable and documented varieties. Some repunched mint mark examples of the 1951 D can bring $30 to $200 plus depending on strike prominence and grade, illustrating how even common dates can have collectible twists. The historical context of the 1951 penny, minted during post-World War II prosperity and the early years of the Korean War, also makes it an appealing piece for collectors who enjoy coins as artifacts of everyday American life in the mid-20th century. Its widespread use in commerce, and the way that millions passed hands across decades, ties it to personal histories as much as national history. Scholarly and hobby sources note that while production was vast, survival in high grades is much rarer. Professional estimates suggest maybe only a few thousand red and high-grade MB or MS survivors from Denver remain, even though the original production was in the hundreds of millions. Despite its abundance, the market for 1951 D pennies is active. Date-set collectors want this coin for completion, type collectors want examples of each mint, and specialists seek the best conditioned or most interesting varieties, meaning that although a common worn coin might trade for pennies, truly exceptional examples can be quite valuable to the right buyer. So, to answer your question about how many million coins, the Denver Mint alone struck about 625,355,000 1951 D pennies, more than 600 million coins from that facility in a single year, and combined with Philadelphia and San Francisco, the total 1951 penny mintage is well over 1 billion coins across the three mints. Because of this huge supply, most 1951 D pennies are common and modest in value, but the few that survive in amazing, collector-grade condition, especially those with vibrant original red color lots or distinctive error features, are where real numismatic value lies. So while only rare certified high-grade examples might one day bring values that significantly exceed everyday expectations, most 1951 D pennies will never be worth enough to buy a luxury car, but they do remain a historically significant and popular part of any Lincoln Cent collection, bridging mid-century American history with modern collector interest.